Hi, Mary, are you on? Can you hear me? You're on mute. Cameron, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, so if I hit share screen, it says desktop one, whiteboard, iPhone, or iPad.
Desktop one.
Okay, so that's, which is what I assumed. I'll share it. Then it says allow Zoom to share your screen. Yeah, open system preferences. Security and privacy.
Hold up, I'm coming. I'm coming.
Okay, okay. So it had system preferences to click. You want me
Exit on out of there real quick and hit this share screen.
to share screen, hit desktop, or should I just hit share? See, then maybe I'm not set up for it.
Yeah, hit open system preferences. It's a good thing you closed the door, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going crazy with the horn.
Zoom. Allow the apps below to record the contents of your screen. You know, that doesn't matter. Camera.
Yeah, no, it's probably not that one. Go to general.
I'm so glad you know this stuff, or pretend to.
It's right now it's pretending I know nothing about Macs. Go to File Vault.
I don't want to screw things up. No.
Shoot. What is
I
this?
don't, I would have loved to have shared. Go back.
Yeah.
No, it's just my system preferences.
Go to sharing.
All users? No.
No. Exit on editor. And go back to share screen.
Hey, Maury.
Hey, give us a second. We're trying to work out some screen share here. I'll be right there. Hey, everybody, we're just testing screen share for a minute. Make sure everything's okay.
Maury, try sharing it again.
Okay,
All right,
do you see the
good. You're good.
good? Okay, great. Thank you. Great, let's wait a couple more minutes because it's just 2 o'clock. But I don't get to see Eric Bailey's face or Mary's face or Brian Murray's face.
I'm here.
Okay, who is that?
Bea.
Oh, Bea, it says Mary on it.
Oh, what?
Wait, oh, Bea, where are you? Okay, there you are. I'm sorry. Hi, Josephine.
Maury,
How are you?
wonderful. And yourself?
Excited to do this.
Happy to have you.
Thank you.
Hi, Josephine.
Hey, Clint.
Hi, Clint.
Yeah, you know, Natalie Neath remembered you because I said that you worked in our office. And so she said, oh, wow, I remember her.
Who said that?
Do you remember Natalie Neath, Josephine?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, because I told her you worked in my office. She said,
Oh,
oh,
yeah, I
gosh,
rem-
I remember her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sitting here in the lobby. That's why I've got my mask on, so.
Clint, will you be able to mute your phone? Because
Yes,
I hear, okay, great. Thank you.
okay.
Hi, Lance.
Oh, my audio. Oh, it's me.
Yeah, there we go. I hear you now. Hi, Cameron. Welcome. They're pouring in now. I'll give it one more minute and then we'll start. People used to make fun of me when I was in corporate. They would call a 2 o'clock meeting and I would show up at 2 o'clock and they would mosey in at like 10 after 2, quarter after 2. And I'd always say, I understand if you're on the phone with a client, but it's disrespectful of everyone else's time. Call 2 o'clock, time management, you know, get your butt in the conference room at 2 o'clock or 2 minutes after 2. And they'd always say, oh, you call a meeting, guess who's the first one there? It's going to be Maury. I'm like, well,
Isn't that the way it's supposed to work?
I guess.
Suppose is the word, Clint.
Suppose.
Maury,
Okay,
no
well,
pressure,
it's-
but Grand Pumbaa's here.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, is that better?
So, okay, Graham Poobah, this is my show. So unless you want to say something, I'm going to
I just
start.
want to observe.
I want you to. So first of all, I would like everyone to unmute themselves for a minute. And let's give a round of applause, a big one. Everybody. I want to hear it. Everyone. Okay, now mute yourselves. The round of applause was for you guys because you are the people who show up. You are here. And after a year of doing this, I will tell you my take is that real estate and being a realtor is not for the faint of heart. So I applaud all of you who are hanging in there, who've hung in there, who are doing it successfully, who are trying to do it successfully, because it is not easy. You know, I come from entertainment, and they always said that the people who made it are the people that didn't go home, the people that stayed here in LA, the people that hung in, that didn't have a plan B, that eventually they made it. And I thought that's so relevant to what we do. I've put my phone on mute, on airplane mode, so I would ask everybody to just mute yourselves unless you want to talk. I'm going to talk about a lot and I'm going to show you a lot. So if you want something that I've shown or talked about, just shoot me an email because I don't want to get distracted by the sidebar chat. Shoot me an email and I'm happy to share anything and everything. And of course, my email is maury@mauryleitner.com. And you could see, I think, under my name how it's spelled. So it's interesting when Joey asked me to teach a class and said, oh, teach something you're passionate about, or Cameron came to me and said that, I thought, what is it I'm going to teach? What should it be? You know, am I passionate about people? Am I passionate about architecture? What am I passionate about? And I thought, people keep asking me, how did I do it? What's my secret? I want to be like Maury. I want to sell as many houses this year as he did last year. And I thought there really is no secret. The secret is that I'm shameless and I do it all. And the class I want to teach, I really want to make sort of a conversation. And I'm going to take you through what I did last year and what got me here. And hopefully, you know, if I have a wish for this class, is that there's some aha moments for you that you say, oh, I didn't think of that, or oh, that's good, or oh yeah, I forgot, I haven't been doing that. And maybe it's all a big net takeaway. You know, my feeling is I just sort of did it all, and this is how it's worked for me. So you find what works for you, but maybe some of it, you know, that I shared today, you can walk away and implement in your business. So first, let me tell you who I am and where I've come from. If you can't hear it in my voice, Josephine knows I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I went to school for marketing and advertising in New York, and I worked at ad agencies as a writer. I wrote commercials for about 5 years or so in New York, really big commercials for Procter & Gamble, Richardson Vicks, Kraft General Foods, and I had a great time of it. It was very creative within a corporate structure. And then I thought, gee, if I could move that out to the West Coast, because I always had a romanticized vision of LA and Hollywood, and if I could get into a movie studio, wouldn't that be fantastic? And I was very fortunate. I connected at Warner Brothers, where I spent 2 decades of my career, and I rose to be vice president of marketing and advertising for TV distribution, where I promoted all of the studio's TV shows. For those who don't know, studios produce the shows and they license them to networks. So we were promoting their TV shows and their movies in their TV airings. And then for the last 5 years, up until 2019, I worked at a company called Entertainment Partners, which is the largest payroll company for the entertainment industry. So anybody who works on a production, at some point they've gotten paid from EP. And EP has a lot of technology that they license to the studios and production companies. And I was handling marketing of their products. And in 2019, the company got bought out by private equity. And they asked me to stay. And I just said, you know what? I'm at a stage, I didn't say age, a stage in my life where I want to do something else. I want to have my own business. But I thought, I don't want to start from scratch. And I love the model of having a business within a brokerage where they know the road to success and they have education and support. And I also liked real estate. My girlfriend, although she doesn't practice it anymore, but she has her real estate license and she used to do it. And I have cousins that do it back east and a cousin that's a mortgage broker. So I was sort of around it. And Margie and I, my girlfriend, we used to, and still do, go to open houses. Well, not this year, but we used to go to open houses just for fun. And I always loved the changing landscape of LA. And everybody said to me, oh, you'd be perfect for this. So, you know, I got my license in 2020, last year, and joined Keller kind of at the end of February, beginning of March, just in time for COVID. Here's the way I work. And there's no rhyme or reason to all the things I'm going to tell you today, other than I'm trying to give you somewhat of a flow, so bear with me as well. I am up and at my computer at 7:15 in the morning. I like to come into the office. It takes me 15 minutes to get here. I eat lunch at my desk, and then I go home and I eat lunch while, I eat dinner while I'm at my computer, and I work until 8 o'clock at night. And the reason I say that is that's what works for me. But I did hear Gary Keller in one of his talks recently maybe it was Family Reunion, or maybe it was one of the podcasts that I listened to of his, Think Like a CEO, where he said all of the top agents that he knows start their day between 7 and 7:30. And I have a good friend that we grew up together. We know each other since we're 4 years old. He's a psychologist. He lives here in LA now. And he always says, because he's the same way, he said, Maury, you and I do more before 9 o'clock than most people do all week. So I do think there is something to putting in the time. In my last job at Entertainment Partners, the guy that I worked for, at a point in the last year or two that I was there, he started these small breakfast meetings where he'd have 3 people meet with him and just let your hair down. What's working? What's not working? Can we share information? What do you want to talk about? And I remember in one of those meetings, there was a girl that I worked with, a woman that I worked with, who said, when I started working here, nobody told me anything. You just like threw me into it. And I piped in and I said, yeah, I found the same thing. I thought that was kind of strange. I thought, if there's any improvement, you should have someone mentor someone and really take them under their wing. And it's like I had to figure out everything on my own. And his answer was, that was by design. He said, I like to throw people into it and see what they can do with it. He said, you see people that didn't last here. He said, Maury, you built an entire department. You didn't wait. And that mindset stuck with me. So when I came to Keller Williams in this office, after listening for just a short time, just a matter of days, I thought, you know what? I'm going to get on the phone and I'm going to start calling people. So of course I pick up the phone and call people that I know and tell them this is what I'm doing now. And I started talking, and I always remember my very first phone call. Ed was in the conference room talking with someone. He was having one of his sessions, one-on-one, and Carlos was behind me, which I didn't know. And when I hung up the phone after the call, Carlos came over to me and he said, oh my God, I want your script. That was perfect. I overheard everything you said. It was really great. And Ed opened the door and smiled and said, we overheard you too. We were listening. That was really terrific. And I said, I don't have any script. I was just talking. And Carlos said to me, well, how long have you been doing real estate? You're really good at it. And I said, well, let's see, today's Thursday. I started on Monday, so I guess 4 days. And he couldn't believe it. And if you're on the morning call, I'm usually pretty humble. I try to be, I try not to be too boastful. But the reason I'm telling you this story is Joey made a point about that story. I don't know if you remember Joey, but he said, Maury didn't wait to get everything right, to have all the answers. And I do remember that a couple of times the person I was talking to asked me questions and I'd say, gee, I don't know, but I'll get you an answer. I'll get back to you on that. And it made me realize that sometimes some people are a little bit shy or a little bit timid, or gee, I need to learn more, or I need to take more classes. Yeah, that's true. But you could also just get on the phone and start talking to people and telling them exactly what you do. I will tell you that because it was COVID when I started, I was like, first reaction was, oh my God, how am I going to do this? There's no door knocking. What am I going to say? And then I thought, well, why don't I turn it into a positive? And here's the conversation that I usually have with people. I just had it a few minutes ago. I had someone in my phone list, and I don't even know who the person is, because at a point when I was at Warner Brothers, my boss and I merged our contact lists. So I have people in there, I don't even know them. And I called this woman and I said, Amanda, this is going to be a really strange phone call. I said, this is Maury Leitner, formerly of Warner Brothers. I've been reaching out to people since COVID. I call them my care calls, and I want to make sure everybody's okay. And some people I haven't spoken to in like 10 years. And it's just been a blast catching up with people. And the response has been so overwhelmingly positive. I decided to call everyone on my contact list, and your name is in my phone. And I have to tell you, your name sounds familiar, but I don't remember who you are. And she started to laugh, which is the reaction most people have. And we start to figure it out. And then I say, well, how's the family, first of all? Did anybody get hit with COVID? And from there, it's like, well, what are you doing now? And how are you? Well, it turns out, I mean, this is like perfect timing for this class. It turns out, she said she works for Snapchat now. And she and her husband are back in Boston with family, but they're coming back because their kid has to start school in September, and they're looking for a house. If I didn't pick up that phone, and if I said, oh, I don't know who Amanda Crenson is, I never heard of her, maybe I wouldn't have had this new client. And she said to me, most of my friends are my age and they're in the same situation. Can I pass your information along? What's the answer to that one? Of course you can pass my information along. So that's the conversation I have with people. What I've also done is, there's free education at Keller Williams. Give me all the classes. I've taken Ignite. I've taken Ignite 2.0. We did MREA Book Club. I've done Bold. I've done Mega Camp. I've done Family Reunion. And my Bible is The One Thing. How many people have read The One Thing? Okay, it's by Gary Keller. It's not necessarily about real estate. It's about how to live an extraordinary life. And I'm going to come back to that book at the end of this. But it's so positive and it's so simple, and it busts so many of the myths around the corporate world, which I just laugh out loud and I love. I have read the book probably 12 times. It's a tiny little book. And I meditate every morning. If you want to call it prayer, some people call it meditation. I meditate every morning. And what I started to do was I do my meditation and then I read a chapter of the book. Once in a while, I read half a chapter because I've read, or I just read what I've underlined. And I read at the end of each chapter, Gary has a little synopsis of the important points. But I'll tell you, it's like that habit that you keep building into yourself, that it reminds me of the really important points that Gary puts forth in that book. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Or, oh yeah, that would be good to do. I should implement that. So I do that every morning. Have people written out their big whys, why they're doing this? Because writing it down is really important, and having a big why is really important. And I have to tell you, you know, I don't think I'm saying a mistruth. I've gotten feedback from people, you know, and I think it took me a long time to become a very positive person in life, but I think I try to be really positive. And trust me, there are days I don't want to pick up the phone. I don't want to call anyone. I'd rather stay in bed and watch movies, but I don't. Because I think of my big why. And for me, it's emotional. You know, if you're on the 9 a.m. call, you know, I talk about, I have my daughter and son-in-law that live in New York. I miss them terribly. My big why is to make a lot of money, whatever that number is for you guys. I have a number every year so that I can have the financial freedom and the time freedom to travel to New York and hang out with my kids in New York, because I love New York and I love LA and I have family here, but my core family is back in New York. And so I have to tell you, in the year that I'm doing this, anytime I just feel down, I think of my big why, and it picks me immediately right back up, because that's what I want. I think showing up is really important. I try my best to show up to the 9 a.m. meetings. I do the Wednesday meetings. I actually have always worked off of a to-do list. And actually, let me do a screen share. Let me just see if I could do the screen share. Bear with me. I do the screen share. I'm going to open up my to-do list. And let's see if it's on. Do you see everything on my screen right now? Yeah, you guys are seeing the to-do list, right? So I sit down on Sunday night, and I know Gary Keller says we should have a should-do list, not a to-do list, and don't get into the game of checking things off like you see I have done, 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 done. But I'll tell you, for me, it really works. And what works here in real estate for me is I'll look at all these things that I want to do, and I'm like, I usually just write them all out on Mondays, you know, that under the Monday header. But then I just break it up and say, well, I could do this on Tuesday. I could do this on Wednesday. I could do this Friday. Hey, let's remember next week I have to call that guy back. And it works for me having a to-do list, because at the end of the day, when I go home, I want to know that I've done it. I set up 2 farms last year. One is Del Rey, which is under Mar Vista, just south of Mar Vista. And that's the farm that I really concentrate on. And then I did South Beverly Hills, because Margie grew up in Beverly Hills. She had a store on South Beverly Drive, and I'm very familiar. We used to go walking there. But I realized pretty recently, you know, I think it's a hard nut to crack, Beverly Hills. So I'm going to do a test. And while I'm farming geographically Del Rey and concentrating, I'm going to take Beverly Hills and demographically farm it. I'm going to farm what my what my title company has, that they call empty nesters, people who have been in their home 25 plus years that may be getting ready to make a move and sell. And in Beverly Hills, I'm going to concentrate on those people and see if there's a difference. So, you know, I started during the pandemic, and there's no door knocking. So I thought, well, how the hell is anyone in my farm going to get to know me? So one thing I did was I looked up their neighborhood association, and they have meetings, and I spoke to the president, who said, well, you really can't join unless you live here or you have a business here, but we have open meetings and you can attend the open meetings. So I've attended as a guest their Zoom open neighborhood association meetings. And on one of the very first meetings, there was a guy, and they have a land use meeting, and I especially went to that one. And there was a guy proposing for a developer this development in Del Rey, a multi-use development. And I actually truly did like what he proposed. So I found his email and I contacted him, and we spoke for a while. And I don't know if anything's ever going to happen. He said he can't promise anything, but he's working on 2 or 3 other projects in Venice. And I made a proposal. He said, gee, Maury, you have such a strong marketing background. How would you market this project that I'm doing? So for me, that's easy. I wrote up a 2 or 3 pager. Then he said, well, I don't know what to call it, because there's small units, and some units are dedicated, almost like the tiny houses. Some units are dedicated to low income. So I wrote up a whole page of names for him. You know what? I'm building a relationship, and maybe something comes of that. Also, what I thought of, since we couldn't do door knocking, and since I come from marketing, I thought, well, I bet I could do a marketing stunt in Del Rey. And what I did was I got a line on individually wrapped toilet paper, because at the beginning of the pandemic, that's what everybody wanted. I made up a flyer, which was not about real estate. It was about staying home. And there were links to things like you could download a coloring book for your kids from a museum. The Metropolitan Opera was now doing free operas on Zoom on Monday nights. It's just how to stay home and not go crazy during the pandemic. And at the very bottom, I wrote some line about being a realtor and here to help. And I rolled it up and I put it into the tube of the toilet paper. And on a Saturday and Sunday morning for 3 hours each day, I went very early and I just left it at 500 doorsteps. Well, you know what? I got 1 out of that. But there's one client I got, and all it took was walking around and being a little bit creative. And she even said to me, she said, you know, I have a friend who's a realtor, but I thought that your marketing stunt was so hysterical and so clever, I thought I'd give you a shot. So that's what I started with. I also did a food drive around Thanksgiving in Delray. I went around, I went to Vons, who donated 500 plastic shopping bags that, you know, when you go to the grocery and you get paper or plastic, they gave me 500 plastic shopping bags. And I sat at night while I was watching TV at home, and I made up a flyer about leaving food for a food drive, and I'll come pick it up and just leave it on your doorstep. And, you know, I stapled them to all the plastic bags, and I went around again several mornings, and I put it on people's mailboxes or their front gate or their doorknob. And I probably picked up, I'm going to say, about 100 bags of food, which I donated to the local Boys and Girls Club over there, and they were more than happy. And the president of the neighborhood association was jumping up and down. He was just ecstatic that I serviced the neighborhood. I love, and at the end of the year, the end of 2020, I did a year-end wrap-up flyer, which I actually hired someone to distribute. And I distributed that both in Beverly Hills and in Delray. I loved what Eric Bailey had done a few weeks ago. He mentioned that he walked around or drove around the neighborhood that he's farming and gave out his card. So I thought, gee, in this neighborhood, there are a lot of dog walkers. So we went and got, Laura had mentioned she did this years ago, and it was very successful. And Bea started doing it recently in her neighborhood. And so we made up these little cellophane bags with paw prints on it. And I'm going to put my card in and some doggy treats, tie it up, and I'm just going to walk around the neighborhood on the weekend and hand it out to dog walkers. And what I'm planning on doing when the weather gets nicer and things open up a little bit more is have a paw, P-A-W, paw party at the park. You know, bring your dog and get a treat for your dog. I did create a buyer and seller presentation in Command. Has anybody done that? Okay, it is in Command. There is a template. It's not all that easy to work with, but I will tell you that if you were on the 11 o'clock Wednesday team meeting a few weeks ago and met Joey Feldman of Forward Living, he's got, and I think he said, and don't quote me, I think I remember it was like $15 or $35 if you customize it. He's got buyer and seller presentations that are templates, and he puts your information into them. I like what he has, and I think I'm going to convert mine. But for instance, having it on hand from Command, and I saved it, when I was on the phone today with this woman, Amanda, she was talking about how to buy a house and the whole process, and it's also new and overwhelming. So I said, well, I have a buyer presentation. Let me send that to you. And when you reach out to your friends and tell them about me, please feel free to forward that along. And it really lays out the buying process. I did set up my Keller Williams website, and Scott Leroy, who, if you've heard me talk about him, he's just great, you know, support at Scott Leroy Marketing. I had sent him a whole laundry list of, Scott, here are all the things I want to do with my website, but I'm not sure of how to do it. Can you help me? And he said, well, why don't I just do it for you? It's like, and it costs how much? And he said, nothing. And I said, go ahead. Why would I say no? And he's just great. And when I say nothing, the office pays for it. The market center pays Scott Leroy, so they're of service to us. And if you ever need anything technical, Scott Leroy is the guy to go to. So in terms of marketing on a consistent basis, I try to do 2 general newsletters a month. I started with Command. I didn't love it. I didn't love how to add people to my list or delete people. I had problems with it. So I moved over to MailChimp, which I think is incredibly easy to use. Scott Leroy did a PieSync, which is a service that will sync all of your Command contacts right into MailChimp. And I will show you, let me just open it up. Let me just open that and share my screen. Hold on one sec. I hope you can see it. Can you see it? So a few weeks ago, Oprah interviewed Prince Harry and Meghan, and I thought, well, everybody's talking about them. And I found this article about their magnificent homes. And so I put this right up front. And I have to tell you, I got more opens than I've ever gotten. And I look for source material. And I subscribed to the LA Conservancy, and they had an article on trailblazing women who helped shape our landscape. And I thought, in honor of Women's History Month, I find articles online. Here was an article on decluttering your home. I read LA Eater, and they had the 19 most exciting new restaurants now. So I put that in, and you could click through to the full article. I also try to do 2 did you knows. This one happens to be, I saw an article on how Metro might be going over to free bus and rail trips for low income as well as students in about a year or so. I thought that was interesting. And then I do some featured listings. And you know that if you do courtesy of, it doesn't have to be your listing. So I looked on my website, which you can search, and I searched properties, and I decided on this one. Obviously, I did a lot of Beverly Hills. I just picked a variety of terrific looking properties, and a number of them happen to be Keller Williams in other areas. Here is one in Compass, and that's my website. And I'll tell you that when I talk to people, many people have said, so Maury, who do you use? Your newsletter is so great. You have a service that you use? And I say, yeah, his name is Maury. It's me, I use it. So I usually do it on a Sunday if I'm not busy. It does take me a couple of hours, but that's mostly because I'm researching what do I want to put in there, and I do a little screenshot, and it's so simple to use. But I think all of this that I'm talking about has a net effect. I don't know that any one thing for a new agent or for me necessarily means someone's going to call you, but I think people are reminded of you, and people look to your social media when they're searching, or they look to realtor.com or whatever it is. And I think it all adds up, which actually brings me to social media. I lay out a monthly calendar, which I find very helpful because I don't wake up every day and say, oh my God, what am I going to post on Instagram? And by the way, I do Instagram, I do Facebook, and I do LinkedIn. And what I do on the calendar is I lay out, Monday is Motivational Monday, so I try to do something inspirational. Tuesday, I love architecture, so I find great properties, and I've just bookmarked, I've just Googled, great properties around the world, luxury hotels, expensive homes, and I do great properties on Tuesday. Wednesday is usually something real estate related, an article on real estate or mortgages or something about real estate. I want to be personal, so Thursday I do Throwback Thursdays. Friday, I do something from Keeping Current Matters. So if you're doing social media on a regular basis, what you will find is after a while, finding content becomes a chore. And so for $29.99 a month, I use Keeping Current Matters. I think you've probably seen some other people send out, I know Rob sends out a lot of emails to all of us, and he uses Keeping Current Matters. And they always have a blog. In fact, I linked their blog to my website, and you can personalize it for the $29 a month. So it looks like Maury's blog. I've now used a QR code I just started using, and it's free. The company is called Flow, Flow code.com. And you can put the link for your QR code into Instagram, and when you click it, or anybody clicks it, they can download your information as a digital business card or into their contacts. You can put whatever you want it to link into there. So I have my website you could click on. I have my newsletter. You just click and it takes you directly there. I have my Facebook account, my LinkedIn account, and my Instagram account. And for 4th of July coming up this year in Delray, I'm going to be putting flags, American flags, on everyone's front lawn. And I created a card, a big card that goes onto the stick of the flag, right under the flag. And it just says Happy 4th of July, and it's got my contact information at the bottom, but it also has my QR code. So you can click it and link directly to all of my information. Let's see what else. I'm going to take a little drink here for a moment. So that's social media and the QR code. I am currently, I had a phone call yesterday. I am going to be creating a monthly direct mail campaign of jumbo postcards to my farm. And I was on the phone yesterday with someone from Joey Feldman's office, Forward Living Marketing. And if you want to see their stuff, it's at forwardlivingmarketing.com. And depending on how many you do and what size you want to do, the cost is not all that much for a jumbo postcard that they design. If you give them your farm in a CSV file with postage, it costs like 65 cents a card. So I figured, well, isn't a stamp like 55 cents? And if you want to do something smaller, I was thinking in between the monthly big splashy postcard, I might send once a month a very small, typical postcard size postcard that's a did you know? And that will be more fact-based about what's happening in your area in real estate today. And I think they quoted me like 50 something cents a postcard. So it's really pretty cost effective. I am going to talk to Scott Leroy, and I'll let everybody know. I have gone into Command and I've read many of the SMART plans that exist there. I think the idea and concept of the SMART plan is great. I don't personally love the scripts that they have, so I want to create my own scripts in a SMART plan that sound more like me. And I was thinking, being Scott Leroy says he now does a 10 a.m. call on anything Command, I'm going to see if he'll set up a class in how to do your own SMART plan, how to create that, what the mechanics are of that. And once I find that out, I'll let everybody know. And if you want to jump on that. I've done some Facebook ads. I have to tell you, I haven't gotten a great response. It's mostly looky-loos there. Going back to certifications and education, I have to tell you that in the last year, I went on to CAR and to NAR, and I thought, well, I'm new, let me get educated and let me make myself valuable. So I got the first time buyer certification class that I took. I took the senior real estate certification class and I got certified. For those of you who might have participated, I'm going to put on my website that I went through UCLA's Diversity University. I have also joined a number of network referral groups, which I highly recommend you give some thought to and reach out to. First, what I did was I thought, well, who needs real estate? Well, people getting divorced need real estate because there's a couple living somewhere and at least one of them is moving out, if not both of them are moving out. So I wrote letters to probably 100 divorce attorneys that I found online, and one responded. But the one that responded said, Maury, there's a national group called Divorce Transition Professionals, and they have local chapters. And it's a networking group of professionals who are all in some sort of business to help people going through divorce. And because we don't want to be overrun with too many people, in each chapter, we only let in 2 realtors, and I'm head of the Woodland Hills chapter. So would you like to join? I said, yes. So I'm a member of the Woodland Hills chapter of DTP, Divorce Transition Partners. I always say partners, professionals, I'm sorry. There are different types of attorneys. There are psychologists, there are hypnotherapists, there are child advocates, anyone that might be helping someone who's thinking about a divorce, going through a divorce, or post-divorce. They have asked me to start a chapter, which I will let you know if I do. I'm contemplating it only because I think it takes a lot of time and effort. People do seem to give referrals to other people. I haven't gotten any yet, but we'll see what happens. I also joined, I found out that the Jewish Federation of LA has a real estate and construction network. So I joined that, and I think I mentioned it the other day, so some of you may have heard this story. Last week, again, I was so tired at 5 o'clock. I really thought, oh, I don't want to get on a call and have to go into breakout rooms and talk about myself. But then I thought about my big why, and I got on the call, and guess what? I went into a breakout room and I introduced myself and I said, you know, I gave my spiel and I'm Rookie of the Year. And another guy said, well, I just moved here from Turkey. I'm a film director. I've done commercials and films. I used to live in LA for a short time, but we got our green cards and we packed up the kids. And I'm here 3 weeks and I'm staying in an Airbnb and I need to buy a house by September because the kids are going into school. And I'm trying to get everything settled. And I didn't say it, but the other people said, well, the realtor who's Rookie of the Year is on this call. So we connected the next morning. I have a new client. He wants to buy a house for $1.5 million. So that paid off. And the reason I say that is I encourage everybody to do the same. There's something that I don't even remember how I found this one, and I just joined it. It's called Lunch Club, and I'm happy to share that information with you, or you can look it up. It's Lunch Club as one word, and you register for free. I didn't pay anything. And you click all of your interests, whatever it is. I go to the gym, I like to hike, I'm in real estate, I want to meet doctors or lawyers. And it's a professional networking group. And each week they send you, hey, are you in this week? And they give you a schedule. Here are times and days available. So like this week, I picked Friday at 11 a.m. And they match you up with someone. And you do a Zoom call. And you just introduce yourself. And one guy that I met was a financial planner. And he said, Maury, why don't you look in my LinkedIn? I used to live in LA, even though now I'm down in San Diego. But if there's anyone you want an introduction to, happy to introduce you. Oh, another guy on one of the other calls from the divorce group said to me, well, do you have realtor.com or anything like that, where even though I'm not a client, I'm happy to make a recommendation. I feel as though I know you now. We've been on a couple of calls. I said, sure, actually, realtor.com does have a recommendation section, so please give me a recommendation. So I encourage everybody to look for those networking groups. And when you have clients, ask for recommendations. Ask for those reviews. Whenever I've closed a deal, I make it easy on them. I send them a letter afterwards. I send them an email and I have the link pasted in there. And I said, what most clients like to do is just write one recommendation and you can cut and paste. It's a referral business, so I would appreciate you putting your recommendation in there for me. That would help me tremendously. And like everyone else, I do cold calling in the morning. I'm still going through my contact list on my phone, cleaning up my database, but making calls, reaching out to people, reaching out to the people who were on the networking groups. I was in a networking group last week, and the guy said he is head of real estate for Panda Express, but he also is an investor on his own, and he wants to talk to me. Can we talk next week? So we have a call set up. And I talk to everyone. It's funny, growing up, my kids used to say to me, Dad, you talk to everyone. I say, why not? You never know who you're going to meet. At the supermarket, at the cleaners, pumping gas, the guy standing on the other side of the gas tank. I strike up a conversation. Hey, do you live around here? What do you think of the neighborhood? You see, LA is changing, isn't it? How long have you been here? Oh, I just got into real estate. Blah, 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 blah. Because you never know. Joey actually even laughed one time in a very good way, because I looked at my LinkedIn and somebody that I used to work with 10 years ago, young guy, I saw him and I started emailing, on LinkedIn. I responded to him and I said, and Sam, when the hell are you going to let me buy you a house, get you into a house? Why are you still renting? And he picked up the phone and he called me and he said, you know what? We just had a baby. This was last March. He said, at the beginning of the year, I think we're going to be ready. So I'm helping him get qualified and get into a house. Had I not done that, he probably would have gone with someone else because he wouldn't have known what I'm doing. I know I've said a lot. I will tell you that I also listen to the videos and I watch the videos that Tristan does online. And I just feel if I can learn one thing, that's great. And I came across something that he said that I want to share. And he said, start with the smallest niche. Find a block or two. Find your tribe. Find what your story is. Do one thing well. Don't be overwhelmed or stymied by it. You know, we were doing something the other day on the morning call, and I think I said at the very end, I think I thanked Joey and Ed and said, oh, a database with 300 or 400 people in it? I keep thinking I need 3,000 people. And when I think that, it's almost paralyzing. I can't pick up the phone. Oh, but 300 or 400 people, I could get there. I think it all takes time. I think truly and transparently, I was very fortunate at the start because I spent 30 years building relationships. Some of them are very established, moneyed people that one person said, well, it's COVID, you know, we love to travel. They don't have kids. It's a professional couple. So, you know, I've always dreamed of having a house with a pool. If I don't get my dream house now, I'm turning 60 next year. I'm never going to get it. Find me a house with a pool and a view. I put her into a $2.6 million house that they paid all cash for. That was really nice. But you know what? I also was talking to a friend that used to work for me, and I just called to do my COVID call and find out how she was. And I say a friend, we've never gone out together. We just worked together, but I was just checking in on her. And she said, you know, Maury, I have a girlfriend and she is looking for her first condo. Do you think you can help her? And I said, absolutely, give her my name. That was a referral. And at the end of the year, I put her into a condo for $690,000, which was not the $2.6 million, but it doesn't matter. It's not about the money. It's about making those connections, making the deal. Maybe in a few years, she'll want to upgrade and have a house. Maybe she'll turn me on to someone. And for me at this point, look, we all need to make money. We all need to make a living. But truly, at this point in my life, I love helping people. When I have given the first deal that I did where I put buyers, a young couple, into a house and I handed them their keys was the most gratifying feeling to me, because it's true. They're going to have their kids in that house. They're going to have their holidays in that house. They're going to make their memories in that house. In fact, I turned them around. I said, turn around in front of your front door. I said, let me take the first picture. Give me the honor of me taking your first picture in front of your house. And they said, oh my God, send that to us. Our parents are both back east. You know, we're going to cherish that picture forever. And one thing I'm going to start to do now is anniversaries are starting to come up of when I've done deals. And I am going to, I looked on Etsy, and for like $50, you can send a picture that someone will, I don't know if it's digital or they actually do it. They make a watercolor print of whatever picture you send. So I'm going to send a picture of each house and send that as a 1-year anniversary gift to people. I just think, you know, that human extra little touch separates you from everyone else. What I would like to do, if you'll indulge me, is, wow, I've been talking for 50 minutes, I just realized. Thank you for indulging me. I would like to read a few things I pulled out from the One Thing, because I think the book is just, for me, it's my North Star. You know, I always go back to that book. So I pulled out a few quotes from Gary. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? How brilliant is that? Do you know what your one thing is? Have you written it down? Because writing down your goals and your one thing, there's some statistic, and I really don't remember the numbers, but it's something like, I'm going to say like 38% of people who have defined what their one thing is, you know, will achieve it. But when you write it down, it's like over 50% of people who write down that goal and write down that one thing will get there. He says, success is built sequentially. It's one thing at a time. That's it. There's no big secret. It's one thing at a time, you know? And when I look back, I even thought, when I wrote out this list of what to talk about, I have to say it, I said to myself, holy shit, you've done a lot in a year, but one thing at a time. No one is self-made. No one succeeds alone. No one. And isn't that why we love this office? Aren't those 9 a.m. calls just great? I mean, I have never, and I'm old, I have never in my entire career been with such a positive, supportive, wonderful group of people. All of us, all of you are great and inspiring to me every day. Gary says, instead of a to-do list, even though I have my to-do list, you need a success list, a should-do list, a list that is purposefully, and he emphasizes purposefully, created around extraordinary results. Achievers always work from a clear sense of priority. Like the 80-20 rule is, you know, the majority of what you want will come from the minority of what you do. Don't focus on being busy, focus on being productive. Say no to anything else you can do until your most important work is done. Things do not matter equally. Don't get caught up in the checkoff game. Success is found in doing what matters most. He also says, which I love, forget being disciplined. Success is about doing the right thing, not about doing everything right. Do it until it becomes a habit. Again, I go back, but we've covered this. He says, the big question is, what's my one thing? And the small question is, what's my one thing right now? I also like the fact that he says answers come in 3 sizes: doable, stretch, and possibility. And I want to take a moment and tell you a very personal story about this. Doable, stretch, and possibility, because this goes to mindset. When I started dating Margie, she was living in a pretty nice apartment and paying a pretty hefty rent for it. And a few times, I don't want to say complaining, but a few times, I guess I heard her make mention like, oh my God, I don't even own this and I pay so much money and why am I living here and so much money and, you know, it's not even that large and it's not even mine. So wanting to be an attentive boyfriend and score points, I thought about it. And I went online myself and I started looking at apartments that might be equal to hers, but a little less expensive. And I came to her one day and I said, I want you to know that I've heard you. And I thought about it. If you're going to move and save $100 a month, well, the cost to pack everything up and move and unpack, it's not worth it. But if there's something of equal value that can cost you less, maybe we should go look at it. And I said, here are some things online, and I clicked through and I showed her and I said, I don't know what they really look like, but the pictures look good and the neighborhoods look good, and maybe we should go look at them. And she said, first of all, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. But she said, here's how I think. I would rather ask myself, how can I make an extra $1,000 a month to afford something even better? And I closed my laptop and I said, I like the way you think. Stick with that. And it made a big impact on me because so many of us, or I'll just say myself, are raised a certain way and have a certain mindset around money or around success and what we can achieve. And I thought, I immediately went to, well, how can I save her some money? She went to, well, how can I make more money to get something even better than what I have? So I'll leave you with that story. Except I want to do an exercise now that Gary has in the one thing. So everybody close your eyes. And I'm watching you, so close your eyes. Now imagine your life as big as it can possibly be. Keep your eyes closed and imagine your life as big as it can be. As big as you have ever dared to dream, and then some. And times it by 10 or times it by 100. Can you see it? Now open your eyes and listen to me. Whatever you can see, you have the capacity to move toward. When what you go for is as vast as you can possibly envision, you'll be living the biggest life you can possibly live. And from someone else that I used to study philosophy with many years ago, he used to say, an ice maker can't make toast, and a toaster can't make ice cubes. Figure out who you are and what value you can bring, and then go for it. So if you're an ice maker, stop trying to make toast. Make the best damn ice cubes you can make. And if you're a toaster, stop trying to make ice cubes. Make the best damn toast you can make and be the best you that there is. Now, everybody, take yourself off mute for a second. Joey, you can take yourself off mute if you're there. Durand, if you're still there. Brian, Cameron, take yourselves off mute. And let's applaud each other. And I thank you for letting me indulge myself for an hour. I hope it's been valuable. And please, if anybody have any questions or want to make any comments?
Do you mean Marina Del Rey or Playa Del Rey?
It's
Delray.
neither. It's Delray. Delray is an area that's below West Washington Boulevard, just below Mar Vista. If you went down Bundy, which turns into Centinela, heading south, below West Washington and above Jefferson, before you get to Playa, is Delray.
Okay, that's
And it's
something
part of Silicon Beach.
new. Okay.
Let me see, should I look in the chat? Maury, do you mean Playa? Okay, let me see. I don't like when people value their own time more than others. Maury, do you mean Playa? We just did that. Maury, this is wonderful. Oh, thank you. I was taught not to speak to strangers. Bravo, start where you live, both physically and figuratively. Yeah, be engaged with your clients. There is not a person on this call who cannot achieve the same results if they want it. Thanks, Maury, you're my hero. This was great, Maury, very inspiring. I hope so. And again, if anybody needs anything, just reach out to me. Thank you all for giving me an
Maury,
hour of your time. Yes.
You need a hand, everybody.
Bravo, Maury.
Thank you,
Oh,
thank
thank
you,
you,
thank you.
thank
This
you.
was better than
You-
fabulous.
Oh, good. I'm
I
glad
had
to hear
quite
you
a
say
few
that.
Joseph.
ahas.
Joseph,
Good.
That
it's
was
better
amazing.
than fabulous. That's the highest recommendation.
Thank you.
Yes.
Kudos. Thank you, Josephine. Yeah, you know, there's enough for everyone. We all have our own spheres. We all have our own neighborhoods. If you look at nature, nature is naturally abundant. How many leaves are on trees in the world? You can't count it. So I always think that abundance is the natural state of things, and there is more than enough for all of us. So let's go out there and let's all be rookies or MVPs this year. How about that? Most valuable players, all of us.
Champions.
Sounds amazing. Thank you,
Champions.
Maury.
Good. Thank you, everybody. I really
Thank you very
appreciate it.
much.
2 in the morning.
Bye now.
Won't let me leave.